Alrighty, I believe we are up and going. What's going on, everybody? Hope you had a great week, great weekend. Coming back here, touching base with another watch list, sort of weekly recap here going into November 3rd. End of the new month, ended on Friday there on October 31st on Halloween. A devastating loss from the Blue Jays after being up 2 games and giving away the lead was a bit unfortunate. But with that being said, I hope you guys are doing well, trading well. Not a super notable week from me last week. I wasn't super active on the trading front for multiple reasons. One, I just didn't see a ton of like A+ opportunity, and I'm trying to be fairly picky and waiting for those clear setups to present themselves. So a few trades from last week. I was just going to do some data entry into my spreadsheet, so figured I would hop on here while I was reviewing them. Amy, we can start off here. That was the first one on the list. I was short this day on Friday and got rewarded with the gap down with the news, Trump-related news. I can't remember what exactly it was off the top of my head, but affected the rare earth space and the metal names. So I had shown this on a watch list in IU and had alerted the trade plan as well. So I was short right here. We had this higher low, hard crack, higher lows, break. So it's like a bear flag breakdown right here. So I swung it overnight, risking versus 1220s, got rewarded with a pretty decent gap down there and was up about $2 a share after risking 50 cents or so. So it was a 4-1 as soon as the market opened. I covered it right down there, high 9s, 10-ish, and moved on. I didn't capture the rest of that fade, but it was a good trade nonetheless. DVLT was the same kind of thing, where it was breaking out through the 270s, but was straight up over the weekend. So I just waited for that pullback into close and joined that trend as well. So you can see it was just a bit straight up. Yeah, I probably could have bought 270s, but risking 230-ish just felt a bit wide when I could just wait for a pull, something like this, and then risk towards these levels over here. This was an after hours, so I don't really put much weight on a pull like that, but can get a bit tighter risk. And then this one did end up gapping up. I was all out right around here into pre-market. I tried adding around a core. I sold into this speed up into market open, rebought this flush, started to look really well, really constructive after it held higher lows versus VWAP, broke through highs, and then retraced, so it stopped the rest of me out on those ads there in the morning. So those were those ones. I tried dip buying BYND that has just been bounceless. I did that on, where are we here, 27th, right here. First time it went green. I got a couple little bounces out of it, but didn't really amount to much. Rainy, I tried dip buying that one right over here. It was going down, down, down. Bought it here. It went green, but inevitably failed, so gave back most of that one. SCNX, tried dip buying that one on the backside right here. Pulled back a couple days, failed to bounce. Did have a little bounce here, but still failed again. So these backside bounces just clearly not working right now, not the right market environment. So basically UAMI and DVLT were the main ones, and then taking small win, small loss in Rainy, Beyond, and SCNX. And then that was all I really did. I didn't do much for the last few days of the week. And then going into Thursday, Friday here, ASST was a recent multi-day runner, and given that these aren't bouncing super cleanly, and this has that retail flow in it, some people comparing it to something like Open back over here. Whether that happens or not, this is a piece of junk, but it did prove that it can run. Looking at like an intradaily, You can see this clear trend break. It's wicked a few times into these low ones. So if this starts to fail back below 110, I'll just move on, but currently sitting there with a 119 average. So risking about 10 cents and up about 20 cents up in these last couple pops. So see if it can start to build trend. Not really a huge risk on a position like that. Grail, GRAL, I bought this one, large cap swing over these couple bounce highs here, 92, 93. I bought on this day and was risking down here towards 84, 85. So it could take a bit of time. I think it's still holding up really well. It hasn't moved as fast as I would have expected, but same kind of thing like this where you're just, it's basically like the inverse of UAMI, where it's getting higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, but knocking on a flat top, where UAMI had higher lows, higher lows, higher lows, knocking on this flat bottom. So that was kind of the idea there with Grail. It's proven it can go on a multi-day run, so we will see. Wider risk just because the volume's a bit wider there. I did take a position on Jobby that I'm up okay on right now. I bought right here into these low 16s. Once it broke through that lower high trend, it got tight here for a couple days and then broke out in pre-market on a PR. So I bought in there in the low 16s, holding it. Got shoved there into the afternoon on Friday. There was some news out on this one relating to their aviation and some comparisons to SpaceX and whatnot. So there is earnings on this one on Wednesday after the market closed. So if this isn't up at like 20 by Wednesday, then I'll have to move on because I just won't have a big enough cushion to hold through earnings. If we're up there towards 20, maybe we get a range expansion day and it gets moving. But like I say, if I don't have a cushion on it, I won't be able to hold that one through earnings. Same thing with LEU. Not getting anywhere, not getting anywhere fast. I bought it on this day here, risking towards 350. And have a 380 average, so smaller size, wider risk for now, but same kind of thing where you're getting higher lows, and need to see it get above like 390s, 400. Don't love the entry just yet. It is tightening up. It has decent fundamentals. Again, I'm not a huge fundamental trader, but people that are smarter than me saying that this has some merit to being a big percent gainer in the months to come. So if this can get back above 400, I think it gets going. Otherwise, I'll just move on and leave it be. The SST, Grail, Jobby, Lou, and Lace. I also took a position on this one on Friday. Same setup. Big move. Lower highs, lower highs, lower highs. Tightens up right in here for a day and then breaks out here through 7. So I bought that one versus low a day. Didn't look super good. I was buying it right through here, and it was looking fairly weak, but stuck to risk, and it paid off there into close. So see if it can get back above this 760, 770s. That's been key for the last few weeks. So yeah, a few swing trade ideas that I put on into close on Thursday, most of them on Friday. And yeah, just there hasn't been a ton of day trade opportunities for me. Nothing really playing out. I made a post on Twitter. Basically, if I shorted this parabolic day and did nothing for the last week or two, and just traded beyond and didn't do anything on anything else, I'd probably be better off P&L wise and mentally. So that's definitely a notable review topic. This one here, I bought this one the other day, but oh no, it wasn't this one. It was this one. Along this higher low trend, I bought it right here into this panic, and I flipped it out quick, and the bounce took a bit longer than I expected. It was right here. This is a clear morning panic with exchange volume right into the lows. So I bought here sub 5 in the 490s, flipped it out into the 510s, and I tried buying some. Like, I sold it and then reaccumulated some in here, but then once it rolled over under these lows, I took it off. It double bottomed, and then the real bounce came. So it was fairly frustrating, but is what it is. It was just a scalp idea anyways. RVPH not going anywhere. Continues to dip and get absorbed. Price alerts up there at 70s. I'm keeping this one on watch. ASST I went over. CMBM, I think this one's in a unique spot. There's a few nuances, I think, worth noting. So, big gap up, percent gainer on that day one, and I go over it all the time where I'm not looking to trade these day ones. It was a big gapper, faded into the open, so it was quite a bit off of pre-market highs, collected shorts throughout the day, and then was a halty mess and clearing out into after hours. So then going into day two, you get a 7 a.m. clear out through after hours highs, and then you get this exact same setup I went over on the last video on BYND, where you get the low a day trend line lining up with a high a day sort of clear out symmetrical flag, where every time it shoves up into it, it sits back under it, and you get higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. And then right here is the highest EV spot where it just loses trend, and probably the highest odds with the best risk reward you're going to get. Whether you wanted to risk versus the bounce highs or risk versus high a day and then move risk to those bounce highs once you can add down here. But that trade plan is up to the individual trader at hand. But you can see the volume. I think this is why it's in an interesting spot here. The volume profile is all down here in the mid to low twos. You did have a little bit come out here up at 6, but there's nothing in between it. Once it exchanged volume, once it exchanged its shares up into those mid 6s and then failed follow through, there was no more selling pressure. It just faded and faded and faded. So there's definitely big time resistance here up above like 530. You can see the volume profile, you can see support, and you can see where the volume was traded in those times. And then you can see down here, basically these highs. It didn't trade any higher after pre-market. Pre-market volume stayed consistent with the day's volume, which is very strange. Usually it looks something like this, where you get pre-market volume, market opens, and volume picks up. But the you can see, I don't know if I can draw a line here. Can you? No, maybe not. But you can get the idea. Imagine this line right here. I guess my face is kind of in the way. Let me do this. There we go. So you can see the big volume profile here compared to up here. And then you look at the volume where pre-market doesn't get any bigger once the market opens. It just stays consistent. And then when you get that quote-unquote exchange area, volume does get a bit higher, but all in all, it's still consistent on this multi-minute, multi-hour time frame. Putting CMBM on watch list for a MDR multi-day runner, maybe? What I am watching for, given this volume and price dynamic that we've had, so typically on these, I'm looking for this big percent move and then trading a backside bounce. Is the typical dynamic. Now with this gap up and the trouble it offered shorts off the open, I didn't take this short trade just because if there was something else to trade, I don't think I would have traded this particular name. So that was my reason for avoiding it. I think it was probably B grade. I wouldn't give it an A just because most of its range was given on gaps, not so much intraday moves. And then also the volume, where there wasn't really a ton of people bagged from up here. Most of the volume is traded down here sub 3. So now we've pulled back, and when I'm looking at those T+1 ideas, I'm looking for that day one VWAP to hold, and this one has a ton of range that it's proven up overhead, but its day one VWAP is still so far down here just because of how it traded its volume. The VWAP didn't get much higher because no volume really traded up here. So this is getting fairly interesting to me. I feel like it could have a like a squeeze that could get out of hand, in my opinion. Now, I don't have a position. It's not something where I'm trying to like force a bias or force something to happen. I'm just noting at how these multi-day runners and the volume and price dynamic typically show themselves. And typically, as these names go higher, something like BYND, where as they go higher and higher and higher, for some reason this volume bar is missing, but it was up at 2 billion something, it was higher than this. So it keeps going higher and higher and higher. As price and the bars start to expand in range, you get the volume starting to expand as well. And if you look at this, maybe something like this, you can see volume profile starts to build and build and build until you get like these big capitulation bars into parabolics. You can see this day the most consistent high volume bars. This one had a few blowouts up near there, but until we started to consistently trade up there before traders were offside. So I think that's why the dynamic is a bit different here. So I think that there is a possibility for a backside bounce on this using like this prior day's lows and those day one highs in like the mid to high twos, because I think range potential is like near these fives, and if it wants to re-break out and build over a few days, it might be worth that as well. But I just think that there is enough space to possibly bounce this. Yeah, I just moved it. I'll put it back, but I was just moving it so that you could see this and these volume bars. But I will move it back over there now. So, comparing it to BYND, and then comparing it to here. So there was a bit of volume blowing out over there, but once you get that exchange, there was just nothing traded in between. Volume completely dried up. So that one's on watch for a T+1. And I didn't see a ton on scans. There was what was it? M something AI, SAI, which just faded a bit too much into close. The daily chart was starting to look interesting, where it started to extend from the 80s as volume started picking up, but it just gave back a bit too much into close for me to really be super interested in that one. I saw Rainy starting to bounce back, but it's just way too far off of its highs. Maybe get like a multi-day run out of it, but nothing I'm super interested in there. So Lays, Grail, what's Ints doing? Was a multi-day runner, but gave back 100% of its move already. Lou, Jobby. This thing just keeps getting sold off. I'd love some sort of a multi-day run back up into those daily resistance bars. This one could be a breakout worth watching. Continues to hold this higher low trend. If this can hold above 620s, I'd like that one for a breakout trade, so I'll keep that one on watch. This one's sold off a bit too much for me to really be interested in it. So, yeah, aside from my swings that I went over, still positioned into those, I'd say CMBM is probably my main watch going into tomorrow. RVPH, I don't have a position, but if that can get over the 70-cent area, I'd start getting interested in that for a possible breakout. NUAI, no position on that, but if that can get over 620s, I'd like that for a breakout. And then, so CMBM, probably the main watch for a day trade, and then keeping eyes on all of my other swing ideas. But apologies for not being super active with lives last week. my construction and building business was a bit hectic and is probably going to be a bit hectic here for the next month or so. So I'm not going to try to kill myself here trying to do a live stream at midnight Eastern or something like that. If I'm not around, I'm not around. But it's not super active for me anyways. So if there's something to review, I'll get something out there. But it's not super busy. You can follow me on Twitter as well. My link is down in the description. When I don't have time to do these lives, I'm posting watch list links that I do through Investors Underground, so you can click there and follow me on Twitter, and you can get access to those. But I'll do these lives as much as I can. Yeah. Do I trade pre-market? Not a ton. I trade little bits here and there, but not really. If I'm trading in pre-market, there's just not a big volume traded where there's like a key level that I can trust. Where when I'm trading these daily chart patterns, I'm trading the daily chart pattern as a setup because there's levels that have traded big volume over multi-day, multi-weeks that has now proven that I can trust that if that level breaks, then I'm definitely wrong. Where trading it in pre-market, stuff can wick through highs, wick through lows. There's not a ton of volume trading there. There's a lot less participants. So those highs and lows, you can't trust as much. So typically when I'm trading in pre-market, it's big extension, like panics, like parabolics or big panics on a multi-day runner that just extend from their mean on green bar after green bar. And I think there's edge in that just because most of the players aren't involved. So there's edge in being able to inherently trade pre-market itself, not just the setup and reacting to that emotion. So typically that's all I'll really trade. Sometimes I'll take starters in pre-market, but I'm looking to add always after open. So nothing crazy. But anyways, that is my watch list. I wanted to get it out a bit earlier so anyone who's around throughout the evening can get it in at their own convenience. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I will catch you on the next one. I will see you in IU, and check out my Twitter for the written portion of any of my watch lists. Have a good one, guys. Take it easy. Peace.